education setting. Okay, the first question we had was, what's the distribution of character strengths, across this, the countries and the world? So, what we found, so when we look at the mean score, average score in each of the 24 character strengths, of course, 50 states of the United States, U.S., and also 54, the nations. And what we found was there are such the similarity in terms of profile. How common certain strengths are, how less common certain strengths are, within 24 strengths. So what we found was humanity-related character strengths such as kindness, fairness, and gratitude, open-mindedness, and love. They're common. They're always actually on the top of character strengths across any country, 54 nations and 50 states. What are the lesser common was temperance-related strengths such as modesty, prudence, and self-regulation. Even the country like Japan, having studied, have a very similar pattern. And having said that, there's no two country has exactly the same rank order, but we are talking about pattern. So, for instance, some country might have zest, little, the higher rank than other country. But if you look at for pattern, the statistical significance per pattern is very, very similar. Humanity always the most common, and the temperance-related strengths are less common.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a point here about this, that the humanities strengths are the ones that are most common across all these countries. They're students here, right? And do any of you students talk about, quote, the real world? Which is to say, what happens when you're not at school? I got news for you. School is the real world. It's as real as any world, and it's better than most. I went to school in 1968, and I haven't left since. So I would argue that the humanities strengths characterize your real world as much as the other real world, and maybe even more so. Other people matter.
I think there was actually, I don't remember who said this. There's a saying, there's only one race, and which is called humanity. So I think our data actually confirmed it.
Okay. For those of you who like multivariate statistics, this is a factor analysis that we use to create a circumplex model. For those of you who don't like multivariate statistics, that's okay, because this is easy to understand. The closer together two strengths are, the more likely they are to co-occur in the same person. The further apart they are, the less likely. These are not inevitable trade-offs, but they're soft trade-offs. There seem to be two dimensions here that classify this circumplex. One is a heart-mind, heart-head distinction. The other is self. The other is others. Now, it's important to realize these are all good. These are all strengths. But at the same time, different people have different strengths. So we've had a lot of fun in the last month looking, because we've got this big, giant data set, people in different occupations. Guess what? They've got different strengths. It's not inevitable, but there's patterns there. So what do we got? Teachers are up there. They're heart people, other people, not surprising. Teachers, social workers, nurses. What do they have in common? Gee, somebody says, gee, they're women and they're underpaid. Well, yes, but this is also true of the men who fill these roles. And I'm sorry they're underpaid, but these are people who are concerned with others. They're concerned with others. They give service to others. Oh, college professors, shame on us. Doctors, lawyers, we're giant pulsating brains. Little tiny lumps of coal for heart. No, I'm exaggerating. The people who are most creative, most love learning in our sample are chefs. Isn't that an interesting finding? So not short order cooks, these are chefs. So accountants are down here. Isn't it nice that accountants are high on, slow down now, prudence, honesty, modesty. CEOs up there, boom. Those are CEOs. What's the furthest possible thing from them? Modesty and prudence. I'm thinking of my neighbors in Detroit, the big three auto people jetting off to Washington to ask for bailout. Now, take Amtrak. You know, drive a Chevy, you know, at any rate.
Oh, Chris, can I add one thing? I certainly remember. You know, when I do this exercise in my class, I noticed this, you know, I ask the students, so, you know, was there any surprise when you find out your strengths? Is it something you thought that you were? And usually they said that, you know, when they look at like your first 5, 10 strengths, that's pretty much, you know, who I am. But they always use it, but it's nice to name it. It's nice to have the name for it. And then there was one student, she said that, I don't like my strengths. She said that's who she is, but she said, I don't like, you know, my strength. I asked her, you know, what's your top? She said, prudence. And so she said, that's not sexy. She said, that's not attractive. So there are certain strengths that I still think it's more attractive. And then, so I asked her, so what are the strengths? And she said that, I mean, honesty and self-regulation. So prudence, honesty, self-regulation. These are her signature strengths. So I asked her, what do you want to do after you graduate? She's an accountant. She might not like her strengths, but she's in the right place.
No, this is just because we're having fun here. One can argue that somebody who has strengths right in the middle of the circumflex are the balanced person. These are the wise people. Aristotle would say this is the epitome of what we're all striving for. So who do you think is right there in the middle? Who's got the social intelligence? Who's got the humor? Who's got the appreciation of beauty? Boom. Bartenders. Maybe your next institute on college values should bring in Sam Malone. And the serious point is that it's a serious point. It's a serious point. And college professors, we've got certain strengths, but we don't have them all. And let's urge a little humility on those of us who are college teachers. I do want to say that Nansook and I'm proud. You said this long before we had the data. When we're on the airplane, somebody says, what do? We don't say, we're college professors. We say, we're teachers. And we're really proud of that, and we're glad. We're glad we've been saying that. Although I may start saying, yeah, I work in a place called Shears. So, what do we got next?
Okay, I would like to share with you, the field of studies which, you know, I think it might be relevant in the educational setting. One of them is happiness. As we said, all of these character strengths are actually important. They are all good on its own right, but there are, you know, certain strengths which is related to, you know, different consequences. For instance, happiness. You know, I mentioned earlier why happiness matters, because it leads to all this desirable outcome in life. You know, success at school and in the job, and, you know, the health and relationship and longevity. So let's see what character strengths relate to happiness: love, hope, curiosity, gratitude, rest. We didn't study multiple countries. It always come out exactly the same 5 factors, you know, 5 character strengths. And these are also same as for actually youth and child. You know, actually it's a little different, but love, hope, that's curiosity. You know, are actually, you know, the essence of, you know, the happiness. So what that means is that, you know, we're talking about strength-based approach, which means you identify your strengths and use it more for, you know, different settings, and they will lead to happiness. But it is also true that if you don't have these 5 character strengths in your portfolio, you better, you know, start to build those and, you know, strengthen them, because these are really, you know, important. So one of the things I do in my class, whatever I teach, you know, large developmental psychology class. And I always include gratitude and forgiveness exercise. It's a very simple exercise to do, so writing gratitude and forgiveness letter. And then, you know, they always look at me like, do you think we are a child, you know, to write this kind of letter? And then I received this email from one of my students. It said, dear professor, I just wanted to thank you for assigning the gratitude letter to our class. I have to admit that when I was writing the letter, I could not believe that you had assigned such a silly letter to write. I was very wrong. My letter was being sent to my ex-boyfriend's mom. We were very close. I felt silly sending it to my ex-boyfriend's mom. So I actually mailed the letter to my house. Sometimes they cheat because this is a requirement. So when my mom saw the letter, She sent it to my ex-boyfriend's mom.
Mother knows best.